Hello everyone and welcome back to where we sometimes talk about thrillers on Thursdays. My name is Katie and welcome to ChapterStackss. And today's video I've been pushing off filming for a little while just because they take a while to film, and that is finally decluttering my bookshelf. But basically it has three big sections. The top one is books that I have not read. This one is books that I have read, and then the bottom shelf is kind of miscellaneous. As you can probably tell, I tend to like to keep, well, maybe this to some of you it looks like a lot of books, but I think in comparison to a lot of other booktubers, it's a pretty small collection of books, and that's because I really only like to hold on to books that I'm either A, really excited to read, or if they're my favorite books of all time. If I read a book and I gave it 3 or 4 stars, I tend to just declutter it and either donate it or give it to my friends. I really like to just hold on to books personally that really spark a lot of joy. So that's why I tend to keep it pretty small. The main reason I also want to clean this out is because you can't see it, but under this little book table I have here, if you watch my room tour of this, you can see it. I have a pile of books that I recently acquired that I showed, I think, in a past book haul, and I still, since I filmed that video, have not put them on my shelf because I just don't have room. So I'm going to film a little montage of me taking everything off and cleaning everything. Then I'm going to sit for a long time and decide which ones I want to keep, and then I will come back and see you all shortly. Hello everyone and welcome back. And I don't know why I'm saying welcome back to you. It's the same video to me. This is an entire week later because it took me a lot longer to go through them than I thought. What I realized when I started going through them was that there are so many that I actually am planning on donating. I have nearly 30 books here. The other reason this is being filmed a week later is because I left my current job and I'm starting a new one. So it's been a lot of life changes and big decisions and stress. But anyway, I'm going to go through the books right now that I'm planning on donating to family and friends and elsewhere. If there are any of these that you think I absolutely would love, that you read, that you really liked, please let me know and I can still go ahead and look into keeping them. I'm filming this on Tuesday. The video will be posted on Thursday and I probably won't donate these until the weekend. So there's still some time for me to change my mind. I'm also sad you can't see my shirt because it's cute little skeletons. But I'm going to start going through these, and then at the end of the video I'm going to organize my bookshelf. It looks like it maybe already is, but it's not. I just chucked them up there. So I'll do a full pan of my bookshelf at the end. Normally I would do timestamps and list all the books I'm talking about below and give you book summaries, but please bear with me, that's not happening in this video. We're just going to really rapid fire go through nearly 30 books. First up is Pineapple Street by Jenny Jackson. This is very kindly given to me by my boyfriend's mom. She had finished reading and gave it to me. This is a pretty new release about a wealthy family in New York. And I will say, I'm not going to talk about all of these for a really long period of time, but some of these I recently read and I'm planning on donating, so I'm kind of going to sprinkle in mini reviews like this one. It's about a wealthy family in New York and 2 sisters and 1 sister-in-law told from all their points of view. I liked it but didn't love it, and I only like to keep books that I absolutely love. This is gonna be made into a TV show that I think should be fun, but there wasn't enough of a gut punch in this book. Not that I need something horrifically sad to happen, but it was just fun, but just all right. Then we have False Witness by Karen Slaughter. I'm donating this one because although I love a lot of Karen Slaughter books, but tell me to tell you what the plot of this is or I'm dead, and just I would die because I read this. I looked at my review on Goodreads, absolutely no memory of this, so clearly it's not a favorite if it left no impact on me. This one was kind of a hard one to decide on, but that is Spinning Silver. This one was a big popular book in the booktube world, and I guess just even outside of booktube. It's kind of new adult, young adult, if I'm remembering correctly, and I do remember really liking it. But I just really don't ever see myself going back and rereading this. I don't reread a lot of books unless they're absolute favorites, so I'm sure someone else will really love this one. Then is We Were Never Here. This is also a pretty new thriller about 2 friends who are traveling internationally, and I'll just say a guy ends up dying and then some pretty horrific things end up happening. It sounds right up my alley, but this is another one that luckily my boyfriend's mom reads a ton and rereads similar books, so she'll give them to me after she's done often. But I think she would agree that this is just, in my opinion, not fantastic. The writing was fine, but the plot I thought was pretty predictable and didn't really go anywhere that I personally found very interesting. So honestly, just not one I would really recommend. This one I had a hard time deciding on because we're getting into a lot of books that I have not read. And this is the Valancourt Book of Horror Stories. And I believe, yeah, this is volume 2. This does have some authors that I really like in here. I think Michael McDowell has a story in here, but I just don't read a lot of short stories. So I honestly am planning on reading the Michael McDowell short story and then adding this to the donation pile. Books here that we're getting into are ones where I really read the first chapter of them intentionally to really decide if I wanted to donate them, because Follow Me to the Ground is one that I have not read. And this takes place, I think, back in time or a fantasy world. I'm not positive about that, but it's about, I think, forbidden romance and eerie and a little bit creepy. But the style of this, just looking at it, I read some of the pages. I get the impression that it would be beautiful, but I don't think it's my style of writing. But please let me know if you've read this and you disagree and if you think I would like it. For this next one, it's the exact same case, and that is The Manning Tree Witches. This one was pretty popular and it seemed right up my alley. It's about England at 1643 and I believe witches. But again, I read the first few pages and the writing style just did not seem like it was going to be something that I would enjoy. And I read some kind of mixed reviews on this, but again, same as last one, if you've read this one, please let me know if you think I'd like it. This might be a controversial one because I read a lot of horror novels, but that is American Psycho. Still have not read this. And you know what, there is a chance I read this when I was like 16, 17 and just don't remember. I think that I would really, really have enjoyed this if I was a teenager in my early 20s. Not saying there's anything wrong, to be clear, about enjoying this when you're a little bit older, but this just is not the type of book that I personally gravitate towards anymore. I think the movie's really entertaining, but again, I read the first chapter of this and it isn't for me these days, but I feel a little torn because I feel like I'm a horror booktuber, so I feel like I should read this. This one I picked up really recently, which is a little bit pathetic, and that is Milkman by Anna Burns. This takes place in Ireland and it's very vague on what it's about. I'm still not clear, but similar to some of these where I read it a little bit and just did not get sucked in. But apparently this one, the writing is supposed to be just incredible. This was the winner of the Man Booker Prize in 2018. So again, please let me know if you've read this one. Devoted by Dean Koontz. Those of you who've been following my channel for any length of time, you might remember that I used to be a massive Dean Koontz fan. And not that I'm not anymore, but for whatever reason, I just don't tend to pick up his books very much. And to be honest, with Leo, our family's dog dying, I just don't think I mentally could handle a book about a dog right now or in the near future. If you're a member of my horror Discord group, I asked about this book and whether or not I should donate it, and pretty much everyone said yes. And that is Sleeping Beauties by Stephen King. I also read some Reddit threads where people were saying that of all the Stephen King books, meaning massive Stephen King fans, that this was one of the few that they DNF'd and just didn't want to finish. So hearing that, I don't want to spend, this would take me at least a couple weeks to get through, and I just don't see myself committing when it's something I've heard not very positive things about. We're getting into some kind of weirder ones. We've got a couple fantasy novels. One is Tales from Earthsea by Ursula K. Le Guin. And then we have Daughter of the Blood by Annie Bishop. I bought these because I love the idea of being someone who loves fantasy novels written by female authors. But Tales from Earthsea I don't think is the first in the series, so I just don't see myself picking this up for a really long time. And Daughter of the Blood, I've tried so many times to get into this over the years, and I just can't do it. People seem to either on Goodreads give this 1 star or 5 stars. They either think it's horrible or they absolutely love it and it's one of their favorite series of all time. So I'm so curious if any of you happen to have read this, which side of the fence you fall on. We're about halfway through. This is The Life at Rose Red. This one is kind of funny because I picked it up at, you can see it says Rose Red from that miniseries that I loved that came out years ago on TV. I don't want to call it a fake book, but it turns out that this was a book created after the movie came out or when it was coming out as kind of like a marketing thing. I thought it was what the TV series was based on, but apparently that's not the case. So learning that makes me not very excited to read it. Then is Gingerbread. I think I've read something else by the same author, but I'm blanking. Maybe I'm incorrect on that. Please let me know if you've read this because I tried to get into it a little bit and couldn't. And then I want to be clear, I keep mentioning Goodreads reviews. I'm not typically someone who decides whether or not to read a book based on Goodreads reviews, but because I have so many books I'm trying to go through, I was looking at, people I follow on Goodreads, if we read similar books and if they enjoyed them. And this one surprisingly had a lot of really mixed opinions and a lot of people who didn't enjoy it. But again, please let me know if you think I'd like it, if you've read it, and maybe I'll hold on to it. Swamplandia by Karen Russell. I love the idea of this one. I think it looks so fun. But I believe the protagonist is a 13-year-old girl, and I just find myself, I've said this over the years, I have a hard time getting into books, even if they're written for adults, if the protagonist is a child. And I read it a little bit and just really had a hard time getting into it. The Kept by James Scott is a book I purchased accidentally online because I thought it was a different book. This is a young adult novel that was really popular on BookTube years back. There's Someone Inside Your House. I have not read it. It's been sitting on my shelf for years, and I don't think it's necessarily something I would pick up. But if you do think this is a fun, quick read that you think I should read before I donate it, please let me know. Then is Dead Silence by S.A. Barnes. This is a horror novel set in space, and now I'm getting actually a little bit torn because I've been kind of craving some, and it's about a ghost ship in space, or maybe not space, maybe just on another planet, but now I'm a little torn because I've been kind of craving some horror sci-fi. So let me know if you've read this, but I've kind of heard mixed things. This, I think, might be one of the most controversial ones that I'm donating, especially because I've loved so much another book by this author, but that is The Only Good Indians. Obviously have read and loved My Heart is a Chainsaw. I still really need to pick up the sequel, but I have tried to pick this up, I think 5-6 times, and I absolutely cannot get into it. And it's hard to say because I hear nothing but positive, glowing things about it. I'm not saying that it's not written well or that it's not a good book. I just personally am having a really, really hard time. I found that I enjoyed My Heart is a Chainsaw much more so as an audiobook than reading it. So I do think I do eventually want to read this, but I just think realistically, it would be better off for me to listen to it as an audiobook. Then is The Maidens. This is a pretty popular one. I read, what was the other book? The Silent Patient, I think, was written by this author, and I did not like The Silent Patient at all. I thought it was really cheesy, so I have not read this. This was gifted to me by my boyfriend's mom, which was very nice of her. She finished it and then gave it to me, and I think she even didn't have incredibly positive things to say. It was more like, you like thrillers, I've read this, here you go. But I just don't see myself picking it up. Then is Familiar Spirit by Lisa Tuttle. I reviewed this one recently, so I won't say too much about it. I love the idea of the paperbacks from hell, you know, from Grady Hendrix, but this I just thought was pretty average. Then we have The Me You Love in the Dark. This is a graphic novel, and I just finished this recently. Let me think how to say this. It's about a painter who goes to the countryside because she's having some kind of painter's block. I just think, I'm trying to think how to say this. I think it's really obvious that this was written by two guys, and that it is a female protagonist written by men. Just with the way she is, the way the plot goes, it just really was not for me and was pretty disappointing. And then these last ones, I'm going to go through rapid fire because I just don't have much to say about them. I have not read them, and I'm just not feeling that I'll pick them up soon. But we have Picnic in the Ruins, Reptile Memoirs, Stranded, and The Perishing. That is a lot of books. I'll be honest, I always get a little bit nervous, and I wonder if other booktubers feel the same way, because people sometimes get a little bit upset if you, of course, someone's donating their favorite book, but these are all going to be going to wonderful homes. I have a lot of friends and family who love to read, so first I'll let them go through it, and then I'll, of course, still donate the rest. If you all enjoyed this video, I hope you have a wonderful holiday season if you celebrate, and now I'm going to go ahead and organize the bookshelf and go ahead and show it to you.